What is up? It's Figure Hunter. Today we're going to look at the Element 26 belt. Now this has gained a lot of popularity. There's been a lot of pop-up ads, at least on my personal feed as somebody who does CrossFit. And I think the biggest popularity about it is for a few of the basic features. So we're going to dive into some of those features hands-on. We're also going to compare it to the $20 Harbinger belt that's somewhat popular or prevalent on Amazon, as well as the two-pood belt, which has a similar clasp style. Now, looking at the Element 26, one of the great things about it is it's $35. And then one of the other great things about it, besides just being a nylon belt, which is ideal for CrossFit because of the flex and the comfort, is it has this clasp system. Now, we're going to look at the clasp system a little bit specifically later after we look at hands-on of the belts. But the biggest thing is that it just clasps in there to give a firmer hold instead of just relying on the Velcro alone. The two-pood has a similar clasp system, but that's one of the things that keeps it firmly in place, so you don't have to adjust or fiddle with it as much or worry about it slipping out at the bottom of a heavy lift. So just like I said, we're going to look at hands-on. We're going to look at the Harbinger. We're going to glance at the two-pood and talk about some of the style differences with the two-pood, which is a $65 belt versus the $35 Element 26. And then we're going to look at a hands-on of the Element 26. Then we're going to talk about just how I sort of wore it in workouts and what I liked about using the clasp and not using the clasp. And then we're going to talk about it in summary. So with that, let's look at each of these hands-on.
All right, so you have three belts, nothing rocket science based. If you look at the belts, this is the Harbinger. This is the relatively inexpensive, 17 to 25 bucks. It's a little bit thick on the nylon side, just uses a basic Velcro, to connect, and then has the little spindle on the middle to tighten it up. It's been fine for the last couple of years. It's held up fine. It has a little bit of flex to it, but that's the Harbinger. And this is the two-pood, so this is using that clasp system. So we'll look at the clasp a little bit more specifically when it comes to the Element 26. But the thing about the two-pood is it uses like a thick middle, so it's like firm through here. So to me, I don't feel like it has enough flex, especially for barbell cycling. It can feel like a good core, like it is reinforcing it, but I don't feel like it adds that much value over just a straight nylon, and the rigidity of it, I personally don't prefer. The one thing about the two-pood over the Element 26 is it does have a definitively stronger Velcro. So if you are skipping the locking mechanism and using the spindle mechanism, you're gonna get more hold out of the two-pood, but you have to deal with the rigidity of the belt itself. So here's the Element 26, and obviously just, it's gonna function like a regular belt if you wind it through there, and then otherwise you would come around the outside, bring it up through, and then wind it and tighten that way. We're gonna look at how you put it on in a second, but what I like about it is, number one, it's just a light belt. A lot of times in CrossFit, we just need some simple core support for types, for heavy lifts, just to get the core tight and give us something to push back on the abdominal wall. And the flex of it, if you're doing barbell cycling in a workout, this is definitely, it's thinner, but not too thin by any stretch, but thinner than the Harbinger. So it has just a little more of a comfort feel, especially if you're wearing it in the middle of a Metcon, while it's still gonna hold the same amount for heavier lifts, because it's just giving that compression across the core. And then I like it just because it's just physically light, so it doesn't add to the weight of the gym bag. So let's look at how it goes on.
Now looking at it specifically, you want to aim for your belly button as the middle of it. There are certain types of lifts, like if you're doing deadlifts or back squats, where you really like or need or could use that extra pressure or tightness across the belt because the intra-abdominal pressure is greater, the IAP is greater in those types of lifts. So you don't want it to be so tight. So sometimes I'll go without the clasp and I'll just use and tighten it just directly on. Sometimes I'll go in the middle and just use the spindle thing, because if you really want to clamp it down, that's going to be the easiest way. And then if I'm doing barbell cycling, or sometimes if you want more flex because you need more dynamic movement, like in a clean and jerk or in a snatch work, you want to have it tight, but not too tight. So this is where the sizing is a big deal. So I first got the large and realized, and it was sort of measured, have you measure across your belly button before you order the size. It's sort of measured a large, but I didn't feel the large was just too much, because when you're tightening this, you want to be able to make sure there's a dedicated, amount of overlap between the two pieces if you can, and you don't want this piece here to come pushing up against there. The way you tighten it is you pull one side while pushing the other side. So you tighten it like that. It takes some getting used to, and then it's tight. So it's not so tight that I can't fit fingers in there, but it also is tight enough that if I flex my stomach, I can compress the area and provide the needed support. But one of the great things about it, especially when you're doing snatch work, is that it stays out of the way. It's got a low profile. If you're doing snatch work, obviously you're going to be using a nylon belt anyway, especially with clean and jerk. You're not going to bump against it, or especially on the snatch, you're not going to bump against it. And it helps keep the cycling comfortable and easy, where I can flex my core if I'm going between different movements and then going back to multiple clean and jerks or multiple snatches. I can tighten against the belt, and this is going to stay in place the whole time. The way you release it is you just simply pull that and then you pop that out of place. So that's the way the clasp works, and that's the different ways. So if I'm doing heavier lifts where I want really tight compression and I don't need the full range of motion, I'm just going to go literally on the middle spindle, and I'm going to tighten it a little bit tighter for deadlifts and back squats. If I just need general compression and I want to have more flexibility of range of motion, then I'll use the clasp and it'll stay in place. Or if I'm doing barbell cycling in the middle of a Metcon. Okay, so what do I think in summary of the Element 26 belt? I think for $35, it is a great option, especially for those of us that are doing CrossFit, for a few basic reasons. It's got the simplicity of the little inner spindle if you just want to tighten it and just use the Velcro to hold it. You can compress it a little bit tighter there, but it's got the clasp system as an alternate option. Some people don't actually ever wear their belts that tight, and the clasp is just perfect for all exercises, and then it stays in place a little bit more easily. And if you're not tightening it down that much, you don't have to fiddle with it. You don't have to mess with it that much. You just sort of keep it as you're going about your heavy lifts. So it gives you the option of the traditional experience of a nylon with Velcro strap, as well as the clasp system as an alternate, especially if you're using a belt and a Metcon. The other thing that I really like about it, even over the Harbinger, is that it's lighter and a little bit more flexible. And as it breaks in over time, it'll get even more flexible. The Harbinger is a little bit thicker and it's going to have a little less flexibility, but it is more functionally useful if you are doing a Metcon where you want to keep the belt because you want to keep your core in a good position. You don't want to, give risk to your back, but you are doing a lot of overhead work or a lot of heavy work that's causing compression on the spine. And then last, I like it over the Tupood because I just don't like the rigidity of the Tupood system. I mean, the Tupood does have the only con with the Element 26 is it does feel like the Velcro is not as strong, at least when compared to the Tupood. So if you are using the Velcro as the sole source, it could potentially wear out over time, but it is half the price. But the Tupood, I don't like the rigidity. I don't like the flex, the inability to, it's just got this rigid sort of plastic through the middle. So that's my review. That's my comparison of the Element 26. I do think it's a great option, especially for CrossFit at $35. It's the Fit Gear Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.